Welcome aboard Narrowboat Kate. I'm Trevor Allen, and this isn't just a boat, it's the start of a brand new full-time life on the water. I'm swapping land for the open canal. I invite you to join me as I prepare for this unconventional journey and discover the sights and stories that await.
It's that time of year again. We're coming up to Halloween, and what better starter can you have for your Halloween dinner than pumpkin soup? Hang around to the end and I'll show you a novel way of serving it as the centerpiece of your table. And these are the ingredients you will need. Of course you will need a pumpkin. I've got some salt and pepper to flavour it and season it. Some cream, make it nice and creamy. I've got chicken stock. You can use vegetable stock if you want to make it more of a vegetarian or vegan recipe. Of course, if you're making it vegan, you need to change the double cream for a vegan alternative. A couple of onions, which I'm going to finely chop. I have some sage, which I'm going to put in the pumpkin soup. The coriander I'm going to be using to fry off some croutons, and a blender just to make it all nice and smooth. And to start, I'm going to be taking the flesh out of the pumpkin. I'm going to be finely chopping the onions. I'm just taking the outer skin off the onion. Which can be tricky sometimes. Okay, so I'll just peel it back like that, and then grab that end, twist all that to get the roots off, and get rid of the excess. And the way I finely chop it is I cut the onion in half. What I'm going to do is to cut a few slices through like that, just a few millimeters apart. I'm going around like a clock face. Once you've done that, all you do is you cut it like that, and as you can see, it's all chopped up finely. And I'm just going to do that with the rest of the two onions. That's the onions all nicely chopped up. One thing I didn't mention was these particular onions, very, very strong. Makes your eyes water, and actually it's quite sore, quite painful. So what I did, it's an old wives' tale, but it seems to work. I've got just a square, inch square or so of bread, and you put that in the roof of your mouth, breathe through your mouth, and it definitely reduces the acidity of the onions. So try that next time, you'll see what I mean. Right, getting onto the pumpkin, what I'm going to do is to cut around about there at an angle, so that will form a lid, and we're actually going to be serving the pumpkin soup in the pumpkin. The knife in at an angle, so you want about, I suppose on this particular one it's about a 6-inch or so circle that I'm going to be cutting, so at about 45-degree angle. Just going to put that knife in, and then you've got to try and keep doing that and cut round roughly a circle. I suppose you could draw the circle on there and follow the line, but not just like kind of get a line. There you go, that's it, we made it. Okay, as you can see, lots of pumpkin seeds. Now we're going to actually keep some of those pumpkin seeds, and we're going to fry them off and use them for decoration and eating in the pumpkin soup at the end. So that to one side, and what we need to do is to scrape all this excess. And so that's going to be our lid for the soup. What we need to do next is scoop out the rest of the seeds and the fibrous material that's in there, and I'll show you that at the end, what that looks like. And just scrape off as much as I can for now. Right, so that's all the insides taken out, the bits we're not going to use apart from a few of the seeds that we're going to fry off. Our next job is to get some of the flesh out so that we can cook that. Now, as you can see, it's around about just over an inch thick of the skin. Now you can do it two ways. You can get yourself another pumpkin, peel the skin off, chop it up. That you would think would be a lot easier than the way I'm doing it. So I'm just using the same pumpkin, and I'm going to go down to about just under half an inch of skin all the way around, hopefully without going through, and that's what we're going to use for the soup. As you can see, I've scraped out some of the flesh, so what I'm going to do now is to weigh it. I'm looking for hopefully around about 1 kilo, so let's see how much we've got so far. See if I need to get some more. Oh, it's not very much. It's only about 600 grams, so I will need to scrape some more. So I'll come back to you in a second once I've done that. See how close I can get. This is what I've done so far. As you can see, I've got quite a bit out, but the walls are still quite thick, so I'm sure I can get some more out. I'm just trying not to go too close to the edge to make the walls a bit too thin. So now I've got close to 900 grams of pumpkin flesh. I'm actually going to go with that because I don't want to get too thin on the walls of the pumpkin. As you can see, that is now ready, and we've got the lid which goes on there. It's going to be looking really nice. I just need to make sure the pumpkin is in sort of bite-sized chunks, about an inch cube, so that they cook nicely. And then we're going to start frying the onions gently. Just going to put about a tablespoon of olive oil into the pan. Just going to get our onions, turn that on, and add the onions to the pot. Now we don't want these to go brown. While we wait for that to start cooking, I just want to show you outside. It is actually raining just very gently, and it's due to be raining for what, about the next 2 weeks or so, which is good. I'm not complaining about that. We need the rain. That way we can top up the canals so we can go out cruising next year. As the onion's been going for about 5 minutes or so, kept stirring it. Time to put in the pumpkin. Now, if you particularly don't like pumpkin, you can actually use any squash with this recipe. I want to make sure that this is cooked all the way through, so if it's in a bigger pot I would have given it 10 or 12 minutes or so and just tested it, but I think this way I'm going to have to give it a bit longer. Let's see how we get on. Well, that's been going for about 15 minutes or so. As you can see, it's turning slightly orange, a little bit more orange than it was to start with. I'm going to start making my croutons. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of olive oil, and I'm also going to add some coriander just to give the croutons a little bit of flavour. About a tablespoon or so of the olive oil. Coriander, this is more to taste. I'm going to put in roughly half a teaspoon or so. Not having that on too high a heat because I want to gently fry them until they go nice and crispy. Let that get on, stir this up once more. Pumpkin's starting to soften nicely, which is exactly what we want. So at this stage I'm going to add my chicken stock. I'm adding about 500 ml. I'm just going to bring that back up to the boil. Keep an eye on the croutons. Going to add some sage as well, and salt and pepper. Again, don't want to do too much, so I'm just going to do about half a teaspoon of sage. I'll add a little bit more actually. Make that whole teaspoon. Some of these ingredients are to taste. So I'm just adding some ground black pepper, some salt. Now, adding the sage will tend to bring out the sweetness of the pumpkin once it's all cooked through. As I said, we're going to bring that up to a low boil and then a gentle simmer for about 15 minutes or so until we make sure that all the pumpkin is cooked through and nice and soft. Oh, it's the croutons looking really nice. Just have a look at them, nice and crunchy and crispy. Gently put them on there. Now I'm going to just toast off the pumpkin seeds. Just going to add a few drops of olive oil again. That's the pumpkin seeds nicely toasted. Looking good. I'm happy that the squash is now cooked. Checked some of the larger bits and they're nice and soft, ready to go. Next step is to put about 150 ml of double cream in there and just bring it back up to the boil, but don't boil it, just bring it up to the boil and turn the heat off. So 150 ml is about half of this pot, which is double cream. It's a little bit like salt and pepper, doing it to taste. As I said, bring that back up to the boil so that it's nice and hot, and then we're going to blend it so it's nice and smooth, ready to eat. It's a stick blender. Try and always keep it upright, otherwise you're going to get it going everywhere. As you can see, it doesn't take too long because it's quite nicely soft, quite nice and soft, so it blends quite easily. I'm just going to do a taste test to see if I need to add any extra salt and pepper. Again, as I always say, it is to taste, so if you like it nice and peppery, add more. One thing I didn't mention earlier is if you actually like it a little bit, with a little bit of warmth in, you can add yourself between half a teaspoon and a teaspoon of chili flakes, and that will just give it a nice little bit of heat in there as well. There you go, it's ready to put into my pumpkin for serving. One thing I didn't mention is when you're serving it, get your pumpkin, put it in the oven just on a sort of about 180 degree centigrade, and warm that for about 10 minutes, just so that the pumpkin itself is warm before you put the soup in, and serve it. That way it stays quite nice and warm when you have it on your table. There you go, that's ready to serve. Just put my lid back on for now. Keep the heat in. And there we have it, pumpkin soup served in the pumpkin. Got a nice steam coming out. That's a short cooking video for Halloween, pumpkin soup. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Let me know what you think if you actually have a go at cooking this. I think it's delicious. Enjoy.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more content. I love hearing your thoughts, so be sure to leave a comment down below. I read and reply to as many as I can.